Okay, guys, I'm going to go real quickly off the top of my head about the dating of First Clement, the Apostolic father, the supposed disciple of Peter and Paul. There are a few things I like to bring up. Usually, Peter and Paul is dated between 64, maybe 62 if I were drunk. And then it does mention in present tense about the temple still standing. That's an established date. The established date is generally more secure than Peter and Paul on a specific, but that's a slight issue. You'd have to go between that date because that's the date that Clement says, Peter, it mentions in First Clement, Peter and Paul dying. And First Clement talks about calamities happening. Now, people will usually reference this off to either Nero or Domitian. The problem with this argument, and most scholars have rejected it, is because there were so many types of persecution, it's hard to notice which one is which. There is a false flag on why they put it at 95 AD. It can't be proven because people aren't just going to come out and just say, "Oh, I know that I'm doing this." It's hard to prove, but in the last 100, 200 years, they placed Clement at 95. Notice it's 95, almost like Revelations. If it was too late, like a 105, it'd be too embarrassing. It would be too late. If they put it under Domitian, that's strange because they were doing it fairly, Domitian's reign lasts between something like 81 to like 96 or something like that. If they divided between, they had to put it at Clement, if they want to be honest, at 89. But because in more modern times, it's a canonical assumption that the New Testament is the oldest, a first century, and everything is kind of second century, a little later. And all these pushes would place it even to or after Revelations. And even in some of the older ones, they'd even put Clement at 100 AD. And if you average them up by comparison off this date, it's more, they'd put Clement usually on average more later, like 100 AD than they would Revelation. And it's because they want to give it more authority. It's just more of authority. And if you want to push it even harder, it'd be like, well, if like, let's say, John wrote Revelation on June 2nd. Well, obviously Clement had to written on June 3rd. Can't be June 1st. No. And so you get the psychological war. And also, many of those who will just ignore the issues will use like Hebrews. This is a mirror argument, the book of Hebrews. And Hebrews will also mention the temple still standing, present tense. Well, if you use that for Hebrews, you got to use that for Clement. How do you date Clement between the temple and the death of Peter and Paul? Well, usually you do is you take the first year off the destruction of the temple, kind of like the benefit of the doubt. Take 1 year off after the death of Peter and Paul, kind of like, because maybe he wrote 2 seconds after. No, you got to give it some time. And so within that, you got 3 years, you divide it by 3, the 18 months, blah, blah, it comes out to like June 15th. And that makes you look smart because, even though you're not, because if you just divide the month, it makes it look like you can get really specific. But no, it's just a stupid trick. Huh? Okay, guys, I guess I'll come out to like 67 of June 15th. Okay, guys, thanks.